Hi, I'm John Davis, and this is MotorWeek. Join us as we peel out into a track test of the first hybrid Porsche 911. We'll prep for the coming winter with tips on long-term storage, then see how the grid is handling the increase in EV charging, and end on a diesel SUV high note with the Chevrolet Suburban. So come drive with us next.
MotorWeek, 45 years steering you in the right direction.
MotorWeek is proudly sponsored by Auto Value and Bumper to Bumper, a nationwide network of stores and shops providing major brand auto and truck parts and service from coast to coast and in your local community. Service is the difference. We get it. Learn more at autovalue.com and bumpertobumper.com.
We're Tire Rack. We test tires and share our results. We stock over 1 million tires. We offer multiple installation options. We do this because we believe tires matter. TireRack.com.
When you see the letters GTS on any Porsche, you know you're in for something a little extra. Well, the latest little extra is something the 911 hasn't seen before, a true hybrid powertrain. But we're not talking about hyper-miling here. As you'd expect from Porsche, this hybrid is all about adding performance. Much like the airplane opened the entire world to globe-trotting travelers, Porsche granted access to a whole new world of performance for driving enthusiasts when the first 911 arrived more than 60 years ago. And they've continued to elevate and rejuvenate the 911 ever since. 2025 marks the arrival of the 992.2, a mid-cycle refresh of the 8th Gen 911, which debuted for 2020. We've already hit the track in the standard Carrera, but this week we're stirring up the alphabet soup with the 2025 911 Carrera 4 GTS at Summit Point Motorsports Park. And any concerns we had about this middleweight's all-wheel drive system causing some understeer through the corners of the Summit Point circuit were alleviated almost immediately. Things were very well balanced, with the front wheels eager to turn in, while the Goodyear Eagle F1s provided the necessary grip to hold a steady line through the corners. Steering is perhaps not as lively as a rear-drive 911, but there's great feedback and it promptly goes wherever you point it. Power was more than plentiful, with big hits of immediate torque planted directly into the pavement, allowing us to exit turns with authority and without any drama. Which brings us to the heart of what this GTS is all about, and that is a first ever production hybrid powertrain for Porsche. This 3.6-liter, 6-cylinder based hybrid is known as the T-Hybrid, and the T doesn't stand for typical. The way Porsche does hybrid is of course different and all about delivering more performance, mostly coming down to integrating an electric motor into the 8-speed PDK transmission and sandwiching another between compressor and turbine wheels to drive the single turbocharger electronically. The result is a combined 532 horsepower and 449 pound-feet of torque. An added 1.9 kilowatt-hour battery is about the size of a standard 12-volt battery and stored up front. The hybrid system also allowed Porsche to eliminate the alternator and starter, as well as power the AC compressor electrically. The GTS is not a plug-in, and it's not designed to run on battery alone. Just add a hint of that EV-like propulsion into the mix and spin the turbo up without waiting around for exhaust gases to do it. After a brief pit stop for some liquid gas, it was off the Mason-Dixon Dragway where the GTS sprinted to 60 in a neck-snapping 2.8 seconds. That's 0.2 quicker than the last 911 GTS we tested. Here, that instant thrust was even more noticeable, with PDK launch control perfectly managing traction to get to ludicrous speeds in a blink. Power delivery shuffled around between all four wheels almost the whole way down the track as the car searched for ultimate traction, finishing the quarter mile in 11 seconds flat at 129 miles per hour. Early in our second season of MotorWeek, a road test of Porsche's 944 served as a pleasant appetizer for 1983's 911 main course. Sure, it was a convertible, but with a quarter mile time of 14.5 seconds, we'd never gone so fast. We equated the acceleration experience to getting a swift kick in the backside from a foot encased in several pairs of heavy socks. Hosiery-based hyperbole aside, back in the present day, GTS brakes were solid feeling and more than up to the task at both of our test venues, stopping from 60 in just 84 feet. As to other unique GTS elements, active air flaps, adaptive front diffusers, GTS Sport exhaust, and the PASM Sport suspension lowered by about half an inch. Government fuel economy ratings are 17 city, 23 highway, and 19 combined. Yet somehow we managed to hypermile our way to 27.7 miles per gallon of premium. Government numbers equate to a slightly worse than average energy impact score of 15.7 barrels of annual oil use with 7.6 tons of CO2 emissions. Porsche perfection does not come cheap, however. The GTS is available in rear or all-wheel drive in coupe, cabriolet, and Targa body styles, starting at $166,895. More than any other brand, Porsche has been able to adapt new technologies and integrate electric propulsion into their vehicles without sacrificing performance or fundamentally changing their character in any way. So even if the T-Hybrid system in the 2025 Porsche 911 Carrera GTS is yet another step closer to the complete electrification of the automotive industry, we're happy to be along for the ride.
Newton told us that all moving objects tend to resist a change in direction, but he'd never felt the feedback you get from the front wheels of a 911. In addition, the Porsche has a habit that helps it through the turns. Lift off the gas and the rear wheel will do a bit of steering too. On a racetrack, this is a handy trait for when the turns get tighter as you go through them. But there is a dark side to all of this. Push the 911 too hard and here's what sometimes happens. Kids, don't try this maneuver with Dad's car.
Over the past decade, more than 7 million plug-in electric vehicles have been sold in the U.S., and the number of public charging ports grew from around 30,000 to nearly 250,000. Add to that countless private chargers at homes, topping off EVs overnight in garages and driveways across the country. With all that rapid growth comes questions about how all that EV charging will affect our electrical supply infrastructure and how it will be managed. Well, to find the answers, we checked in with the electricity experts. BGE is among the Mid-Atlantic's largest electric utility companies, delivering power to more than 1.3 million Maryland customers, including nearly 80,000 electric vehicle owners. To mitigate possible surges in demand and stress on the system caused by numerous EVs charging at once, BGE offers a time of use rate with discounts for charging during off-peak hours, and has recently taken that a step further with an innovative solution to balance demand within that off-peak window using telematics technology.
Managed charging is the ability for a utility or a third-party company to control a EV driver's charging. So basically a driver would allow the utility to change when that battery is charging to help support grid needs. They put in their daily departure time, which they can change any day of the week, And any time between when they plug in their vehicle the night before and their indicated departure time, we will decide when that vehicle will charge. We will look at who has the earlier departure time or who has a lower battery, making sure that we're fulfilling all customers' charging needs while also maintaining the reliability of the local transformer or the greater substation in the area so we don't overload any of those assets.
More than 5,400 eligible BGE customers have signed up for the managed charging program so far, each receiving a $10 per month utility bill credit for participating.
I was enrolled in the EV time of use rate, and when the Smart Charge Management Program came about, it was a no-brainer for me to sign up. I had to manage when I was charging my car previously to ensure it was charging off-peak at the cheapest times, but now the Smart Charge Management Program does it for me.
Another way of balancing grid demand is to take advantage of the energy storage capacity in electric vehicle batteries. At 5 p.m. every summer weekday, this light on Brian Foreman's EV charger changes from blue to green. It signals that over the next 4 hours, power for his house is coming not from the grid, but rather from the electric pickup parked in his garage. Brian is part of a pilot vehicle-to-grid program launched by BGE this year for owners of Ford F-150 Lightnings, one of a small but growing list of EVs that are capable of bi-directional charging. V2G temporarily borrows energy stored in EV batteries to augment power in the grid during periods of high demand.
So there's a charge station, which is more than just your typical charger. It's a bi-directional charger. So not only does the energy go into the truck, it can take that energy back out of the truck. That charger then communicates with an inverter that sits in the basement of our house next to our electrical panels, and that inverter really controls the whole system. So it's the one that's telling the truck and the charge station, now it's time, instead of feeding energy into the truck, to feed energy back into the house. And then based on the timing of that, if it makes sense to send that energy into the house or also send it out into the grid. But you can see with the energy that's in vehicles like this about how much energy could go in the grid at different times in case of emergencies perhaps. This truck itself, when we use it for backup power for the house, it can last up to 13 days in my usage. It would be nice in the future to be able to just plug my truck in and say, I can help out. I can send some energy in to make that grid more resilient.
From 1966 to 1987, the Canadian-American Challenge Cup Series brought out some of the most iconic names in racing history. Cars like McLaren, Porsche, Ferrari, and fabled drivers like Dennis Holm, Bruce McLaren, and Mark Donohue. But what's the backstory of these cars? And who were the mechanics supporting the drivers on some of the world's best racing teams? Men like Joel Griffin, Trevor Harris, and Johnny Woody Woodard. This must read One Last Turn, Personal Memories of the Can-Am Era's Greatest Mechanics, Tuners, and Crews by Martin Rudo and David Gaddis tells the full story behind these legendary race cars and the passionate enthusiasts who built them and then put them to work. We love to see a project car out on the road, but sometimes they need a break. Or perhaps it's time for your summer cruiser to enter winter hibernation. Well, here's Giuseppe Iatarola with tips on storing your car long-term on MotorWeek's Your Drive.
I may be young, but I love classic cars, like this 1962 Cadillac Eldorado convertible. This car does not like the winter due to slush, snow, and rainy weather. This car wants to be driven in the summer. If you want your classic car to last, do it a favor. Prep it to park it. Before parking your car into storage, you want to check your fluids, starting off with coolant. Now, even though you are parking your car, you want to still have coolant for freeze protection and the pH acidity. To check those, use the coolant strips. Now, as you can see, this car failed the tests and needs some attention. The next thing you want to check is your oil. You want to do a nice oil change with a fresh filter and don't overfill. And for your gas tank, you want to add a fuel stabilizer to prevent gumming and varnishing. Now for the battery tender, you want to disconnect the battery or use a battery maintainer to prevent it from draining, unlike regular battery charger. A maintainer will cycle on and off to manage charge consistently at 12 volts. Make sure to cover the exhaust pipe and air inlet to keep critters out. Flat spots on tires on the classic cars is a big problem when you put them into storage. If you're driving your car and your car is vibrating, that may be flat spots on your tires. Now, there are a couple ways to fix this problem. The old school way is jack stands. You put the jack stands under the control arm to keep the body compressed on the springs and the wheels off the ground. Now, the more modern way is the tire cradles. It cushions the tires to prevent flat spots. When your car is in storage, car covers are highly recommended. It protects the paint from scratches, dents, and dust. Regularly check for moisture or pests. Periodically start the car to circulate the fluids and warm up the engine. These tips will help ensure that your classic car will be ready to hit the road. The longer you need to store your car, the more prep it will need. For longer-term storage, consider a fogging spray. That will protect the internal engine parts with a non-corrosive coating. A good old-fashioned wash and wax job will remove all surface contaminants, nourish the paint, and protect it from the elements. Grab a grease gun and hit all the suspension fittings, metal on metal, joints, and bearings. If you have any questions or comments, reach out to us here at MotorWeek.
Now here's Stephanie Hart with the headlines and this week's Motor News.
With the 2026 Honda Prelude fast approaching, the automaker has confirmed some important facts. Its hybrid setup consists of a 2-liter 4-cylinder and a pair of electric motors, combining for 200 horsepower and 232 pound-feet of torque. No manual transmission, but an S+ shift feature can simulate transmission shifts, blips, and revs. The Prelude will borrow suspension and Brembo brakes from the Civic Type R. Adaptive dampers come standard on this coupe. We expect pricing to be confirmed closer to the Prelude's launch this winter. In a product line reevaluation, Stellantis has canceled their all-electric Ram 1500. They'll instead focus on their range-extended pickup, now called the 1500 Rev, renamed from the Ram Charger. The Rev will use a Pentastar V6 as a generator for its 92 kilowatt-hour battery, powering its electric motors for an estimated 700 miles of range. Also citing shifts in automotive trends, Nissan is saying goodbye to one of its own EVs. The Ariya SUV will not be renewed for Nissan's 2026 US lineup, with efforts shifting over to the new Leaf compact EV. On the other side of the spectrum, the R35 GT-R, which was produced for 18 years, has also ended production. Although there are no definitive plans, Nissan hinted at the GT-R's return. On the horizon is the all-new Sentra. This compact is sleek and stylish, powered by a 149 horsepower, 2-liter inline-4, paired with a CVT. Touch-sensitive climate controls aren't our favorite, but the rest of the cabin is straightforward with a sharp design. You can check out our full first look on the 2026 Nissan Sentra on the MotorWeek YouTube channel. And that's it for this week's Motor News.
Our 2025 Kia Carnival Hybrid wrapped up summer with a few last-minute vacations before the kids headed back to school. That means higher education on highway travel and Kia's driving assistance, which is head of the class in this segment. While not designed to be totally hands-free, Highway Driving Assist 2 does a great job keeping your place in traffic and in your lane without bouncing between the lines. It works in stop-and-go scenarios and can even help with lane changes once you hit the turn signal.
Minivans are supposed to make life easier for families, and while Kia still refuses to call this Carnival a minivan, it certainly made my life easier as a father of 2. The highway assist features definitely help, but maybe an overlooked feature that I think is absolutely clutch is the cabin view monitor. I think we can all agree that checking on the kids with the screen is much easier and safer than turning around.
It's doing well in economics class too, as fuel economy continues to rise. Now at 31.9 miles per gallon over 8 months and 14,500 miles. We've done the math, and so far it adds up to one of the best family haulers out there. We'll check in on our Mitsubishi Outlander and Fiat 500e on the next MotorWeek long-term road test update.
The Chevrolet Suburban has a lot on its brawny shoulders. It's part of the industry's best-selling full-size SUV lineup with 90 years of production history over 12 generations. Well, things don't do that well for that long without constant improvement. So let's check in with the latest Suburban to see what's new. The Chevrolet Suburban has been the ultimate carry-all vacation vehicle and puller of family toys for decades, establishing the truck-based utility formula that only a few brands still follow today. In its 12th generation since 2021, 2025 models get a timely round of updates outside and inside, along with an option for something a little extra under the hood. If you need interior space and don't want a minivan, this is where it's at. There's plenty of room for adults to spread out in all 3 rows of seating, and while it is a big climb up into the cabin, a wide and comfortable throne is your reward. Infotainment is displayed on a new 17.7-inch touchscreen. It's very intuitive, easy on the eyes, and quick to respond. With the optional rear seat media system, second-row passengers get some big screens of their own, which can be used for streaming your favorite programs on Tubi. All trims except for High Country get a 355 horsepower pushrod 5.3-liter V8 with the option to upgrade to the High Country's 420 horsepower 6.2-liter V8. New for 25 is this optional second-gen Duramax diesel. It can be added to any trim except base LS, and just about everything has been upgraded in this 3-liter inline 6. New pistons, improved cooling, upgraded turbo compressor, new fuel injectors, and revised intake. And while most changes were designed to improve efficiency and increase refinement, horsepower climbs 10% to 305, and torque is increased from 460 to 495 pound-feet. Even if towing is not on your to-do list, the diesel's fuel efficiency is a real bonus, not to mention the smooth, low RPM, effortless highway cruising and more than 600 miles of range per tank. Government fuel economy ratings with 4-wheel drive are 20 city, 26 highway, and 22 combined. We average 20.4 miles per gallon. The Suburban suspension has also seen some revisions for 25, mostly to benefit refinement. And on the highways and byways, it does indeed feel very smooth and quiet. But if you need a reminder that it's still a truck on a real frame, a handling course is where to do it. Though the Burb's rear multi-link suspension has truly come a long way over the years. It actually felt quite nimble through the cones for such a large vehicle. Our High Country was of course aided by both magnetic ride control and air ride adaptive suspension. Brakes have over 6,000 pounds to deal with, but do so fantastically, stopping abruptly in just 112 feet from 60. The High Country did lumber off the line and clattered its way to 60 in 7.7 seconds, and while it felt slow, those numbers are not bad at all for a big SUV and only about half a second off what we got with the 6.2-liter V8 back in 21. The quarter mile passed in 16 seconds at 87 miles per hour. Updates to the exterior are pretty minimal, mostly just a revised face with updated lighting to give it a different look than Silverado. The High Country's chic includes black accents and Galvano chrome, along with 24-inch wheels. Pricing still starts reasonably enough at $65,095. High Country tops the lineup at $84,795. The diesel is about a $5,000 option on most trims, though it's actually a discount in top High Country, coming in $1,500 less than the 6.2-liter V8. Over the years, the Chevrolet Suburban has become iconic. Just seeing one brings back memories of childhood vacations, towing the RV or boat for many people. But the 2025 Chevrolet Suburban is much less about nostalgia and much more about delivering the most modern, full-size, body-on-frame sport utility on the planet. Well, that's our show. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, for more MotorWeek, including daily news updates, podcasts, and even complete episodes, cruise on over to pbs.org/MotorWeek. And I hope you'll join us next time for a close-up look at the Cadillac Optic SUV, followed by a Euro sports sedan shakedown in the Audi A3. Till then, I'm John Davis. We'll see you right here on MotorWeek.
To learn more about MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine, visit pbs.org/MotorWeek.
The MotorWeek app, which includes our latest reviews and feature stories, is now available for mobile devices.
MotorWeek is proudly sponsored by Auto Value and Bumper to Bumper, a nationwide network of stores and shops providing major brand auto and truck parts and service from coast to coast and in your local community. Service is the difference. We get it. Learn more at autovalue.com and bumpertobumper.com.
We're Tire Rack. We test tires and share our results. We stock over 1 million tires. We offer multiple installation options. We do this because we believe tires matter. TireRack.com.
This program was produced by Maryland Public Television, which is solely responsible for its content.
You're watching PBS.